Welcome back to the Fix Washington podcast. I'm your host, Peter Abbarno, and I am here in Clark County at the waterfront in Vancouver with Representative John Lee of the 18th District. We are taking the Fix Washington podcast on the road. We're visiting legislators all over where they live, where they work, where they represent, and around projects that are extremely important to them and their districts. And again, here on the waterfront in Vancouver with Representative John Lee. Thanks for joining us.
Peter, it's great to be with you. As always, thanks for coming to Clark County. It's an amazing place. We're growing like a weed. We've got growing pains. And today, behind us is the I-5 Interstate Bridge. It is the largest public works project in the history of the Portland metro area. And as you know, I've had concerns about the size and the scope of this project for a long time. And frankly, my constituents, most importantly, have problems with it too.
Well, I was going to mention, because the bridge itself has statewide significance. However, we're only a stone's throw from the 18th district and actually only the 20th district. So getting this bridge right for our constituents who travel back and forth, commerce, commuters, is extremely important to the 18th, 20th, and all of Clark County.
Yeah, it's important for all of Southwest Washington. And one of the statistics that I routinely try to dig out is just in Clark County, there are roughly 75,000 people that earn a paycheck across the river in Oregon. But then when you go up to Cowlitz County, when you go to Skamania County to the east of us, there's another 15,000, 20,000 people who show up in Oregon income tax returns commuting into Oregon to work, and so they need good transportation. They don't need to waste their time stuck in traffic and in congestion. And of course, our freight haulers, time is money for them, and they need expeditious travel between the states, up and down the entire corridor. And frankly, from Canada to Southern California, this is very, very important, which is why we need to do the right project for the right price here in Southwest Washington.
Well, and you've been a stalwart on really fighting to make sure this project is right-sized for the state of Washington and our taxpayers. But also, one of the things that's really great to see is the issue on transparency. One of the biggest issues facing the state and really country is people want accountability and transparency from their government and with projects of this size. And you've been really at the forefront on that.
Yeah, and my biggest question, very simple, where's the value?
Yeah.
For all the taxpayer dollars that the people are spending, where's the value? The problem with this, $7.5 billion, realistically, it ought to be between $1 and $2 billion. And so there's loads of pork barrel, number one, in this that I have problems with. But number two, it's an over-congested 3-lane bridge. And what are they going to replace it with? Another 3-lane bridge. Yeah. With one auxiliary lane, which is for merging on and off the freeway. They are already telling us that in 2045, after they've spent $7.5 billion, we will go from 46% of traffic moving at freeway speeds during a 24-hour period down to 27%. So it's going to get worse for the average citizen, and therefore there's no value in this whatsoever.
Well, and I think that's an easy concept for most people to grasp. The idea that we see this in government all the time. They don't right-size a project, and they don't do it for future development. So what's going to happen is they're going to spend billions of dollars on one project only to have to come back, charge the taxpayers again for another project because they didn't do it right the first time.
Absolutely. And in a sense, it's common sense. You can send everything through one pipe, or in our case, 2 pipes, I-205 and I-5, or you could build multiple bridges across the river and let the traffic flow, have lots of alternatives. The freight haulers do their routes, the cars and trucks, depending on the time of day, number one. Number two, if there's an accident or something, we've got an easy way to reroute. And sadly, both corridors are over congested right now, especially I-5. A simple comparison, the Willamette River in Portland has a dozen bridges over it. We need more than 2 bridges across the Willamette River, or across the Columbia River. And the easy answer, if you gave me the $7.5 billion, I'd build you 2 and maybe 3 bridges across the Columbia River. And from a different perspective, just let's get one started and our state needs money everywhere else.
Yeah.
Sadly, this does nothing to improve traffic congestion. It makes it worse. And the state budget, as you know, $3.2 billion over the next biennium in transportation packages, and the people aren't getting anything of value for it up here. All of that money is not going to new projects. It's going to projects that we thought we'd paid for 2 years ago, 7 years ago. What a sad waste of the people's money that we can't deliver as promised those past projects. So now we're going to pick their pockets again for even more money to finish things we couldn't finish.
Yeah, and I think what people are looking for right now is accountability, and they want to know where their money's going. And I think they're lucky to have you there watching it, because you've spent so much time before becoming a representative and obviously in Olympia really watchdogging this project. And I know that the folks in the 18th and all of Clark County and really Washington State should appreciate that. And I know I do. What do you, now this, since the interim, you're back in the district, you're in Battleground, you're running around, you're in the 18th. Tell us about what you're hearing from people, grocery store, on the streets. I mean, what's the issues facing them? I imagine it's the same that I'm hearing all around the state, but what's Battleground talking about?
It's affordability everywhere you go. And sometimes it's the groceries. Recently, people got their property assessments from the county auditor, and it's like, what, or the county assessor, and it's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? They're not going to get the revised tax bill until later this fall, but they know things are going up 15, 20, 25%, and they're already having a hard time making it. Had another couple talk to me just the other day about their insurance bill for their home.
Yes.
Homeowners insurance is through the roof. Other people, their car insurance. And so many of these have a nexus, sadly, in Olympia, with different laws or different rules that are passed that unfortunately drives up the cost of everyday living for so many people. And we're just a couple days away from the 1st of July. Sadly, the gas tax is going to go up. An awful lot of transportation fees are going up. Beautiful time of year for fishing. Oh, but yeah, we jacked up the cost of fishing licenses in Washington State, let alone going out camping or hunting. The state's just picking people's pockets when they really, really are having a hard time making ends meet.
Yeah, I think that's a common theme in Washington right now is affordability and the cost of living. With all the press coming out of Olympia right now, it seems like the majority is pointing their finger at the other Washington. I mean, what's your message? Is it the other Washington, or is it the decision made in this Washington?
Well, it's all of government. Yeah. It is the most candid answer, but clearly we can control for our people, for our citizens in Olympia. And that is, bar none, the biggest problem, the biggest issue. And the whole West Coast has had this mindset that we can always pick the people's pockets a little more and they won't mind. Well, it's become a death by 1,000 cuts here, sadly. Your groceries are going up every aspect of your life, and they thought in this last session, $9.5 billion for the general fund, and then another $3.2 billion in transportation. That's coming out of hardworking people's pockets every day. And sadly, what we are also hearing, and what I'm hearing when I talk to people, is they are now looking in earnest at moving to Idaho, moving to Arizona. Money is fluid. It can move anywhere. We've already had Clark County's wealthiest resident move, take his headquarters for his business to Texas. Because of the tax laws here, we've of course seen Jeff Bezos, and now I'm hearing mom and pops say, you know what, uncle, and I certainly want to encourage them to stay. I let them know we are fighting for them. We just need more help in the legislature to try and stop these increases and actually provide relief for these people.
So, and what's also your message? Because I agree, I mean, taxpayer migration is a real thing. If you're gonna raise taxes on folks, those who can move will move, right?
Yeah.
They'll find a way to avoid the tax. But what do we say to these working families and new families where, this year, the majority raised B&O taxes on childcare facilities, healthcare facilities, and that's all gonna increase the cost of childcare and healthcare. And that really hurts mostly a lot of it, the working families and new families who are trying to turn, new kids, and now you got to pay extra money for childcare. They don't have the luxury of moving. So what do we say to them?
I hate to be partisan, but at the end of the day, as you and I learned throughout the session, we found a few common sense Democrats that would side with us against these. We just didn't have enough moderate to conservative people who understand the impacts of the financial decisions Olympia is making, and ultimately it's harming people.
And I imagine also for them to stay active and become active if they're not already active, with letters to the editor, reaching out to your office, because we want to hear from them and we want them to share their stories so that these real life stories impact even us in Olympia when we hear them and read them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love hearing from my constituents. I want to understand at my core what their battles are, what they're fighting for, all the things that are most important to them and their family, whether it's things happening in the schools, whether it's their job opportunities, their businesses. I want to know, because I can't represent them unless I take that time to listen and be able to articulate their concerns to our fellow legislators. And so, yes, I absolutely hope that we can get people to stay, to join the fight. We saw many, many examples where citizens gave input during the session and stopped, especially the road usage charge. That was humongous because so many people called and emailed and signed in to the legislators and said, this is insanity, stop it. And delightfully, we were able to kill that this time.
Yeah.
There were a couple of other bills we were able to do that. But the people want to live their lives, they want to raise their kids, they want to take care of their family. They don't want to have to be watching Olympia constantly. And sadly, that is part of where we're going, and what it's going to take is more people getting involved, letting the entire legislature know, you're not representing me.
Yeah, and what's also interesting, and one thing I wanted to touch on as well, is a lot of times when we come to Olympia, legislators get pigeonholed into an issue. Obviously, the IBR, transportation, that's one of your big issues, and you're doing an amazing job on it, being a watchdog for taxpayers. But you also serve on important committees dealing with education, environment and energy. You've had bills passed on those types of issues too, which is important for, I think, Washingtonians in your district to know, hey, this is a big issue for you, the bridge, but you're not a kind of a one issue candidate. You have done a lot of work in a lot of different issues.
Yeah, and just 30 miles up the river here, we've got the Bonneville Dam.
Yep.
Energy, huge. There's the whole discussion about tearing down the lower Snake River dams and allegedly for fish, which everything I've been able to see says is insanity. We need to preserve the water. It helps agriculture, which is humongous for the state of Washington by preserving water, letting us manage it. We've got fish ladders. The fish are going upstream, and we need to protect those resources, number one. Number two, for those worried about the environment, it doesn't get much cleaner in terms of electricity than hydroelectric power. And that's exciting. I just read an article that one of the new nuclear generation facilities has received tentative approval in our state to begin generating what we would call a small modular nuclear power via fission. And wonderful. It's exciting. It's new technology. But with the growth of people in our state, number one. Number two, with the state mandate, whether you love it or hate it, for all electric cars starting 2035, people are going to plug in their cars and there'll be no electricity there unless we upgrade our generating capacity. And of course, separate from that is the ability for our electric companies to transmit the power.
Yeah.
You've got to upgrade the transmission system. And so we had several sessions, we had some bills that we fought for to try and allow the electric companies to upgrade their transmission system. And so there's so many facets of this that are so important to our citizens, because realistically, that's a decade from now.
Yep.
And you can't just, snap your fingers or twitch your nose and instantly add new generating capacity.
Yeah.
Usually it's 5 to 10 years, and so in a sense, we're behind the power curve here.
Yeah, and we serve on environment and energy together, and I know you're active on that committee and all your committees. So what are you going to work on in this upcoming session? I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Obviously, we know that the revenue forecast came out. We're going to be in the red within 2 to 4 years, massively within 4 years. Some issues that you want to work on?
Well, in a sense, that revenue forecast is scary. You and I don't live our lives that way, where we say, okay, I'm making 70 grand a year, and I'm going to spend down to my last 10 bucks. I'm going to plan for the entire year. And yet, essentially, that's what the state legislature did in approving the spending bills. And now the new revenue forecast came out. The state isn't growing as fast as their overly optimistic revenue projections. And so now there's a shortage. Some people are saying we might have to go back into special session. And our fear is that the Democrats will go to the one answer they've gone to so often, and that's raise more taxes.
Right.
No, the people can't afford the taxes already. They're being priced out of their homes. They're having to make hard decisions, whether it's medicine or nice groceries or pare back a vacation that they've been saving for. And so that's the wrong answer. I would love to see the governor say, oh, okay, I trusted you, but now let me start cutting back the size and the scope of government to reduce the cost of the government on the people so that we don't need to raise taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, they just raised $12 to $13 billion worth. If you can't live within those means, come on, there's something wrong here.
Well, I appreciate your perspective. I'm sure all those in the 18th district appreciate your perspective. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, they want to talk about their ideas, they want to help you advance your priorities, how can they get in touch with you?
Hey, anytime, anywhere, my ledge email, john.lee@ledge.wa.gov. You can call the phone number on that website. I will go anywhere, anytime. Delightfully, I'm retired, so I've got free time, and I am constantly meeting with constituents for a cup of coffee, a bite to eat, whatever. Truly, I want to hear your issues and concerns. Yeah. That's what this job is about. Yeah. And I love interacting with people, and it keeps me grounded. It really does, because that's who we are fighting for. Absolutely. Up in Olympia. It's not the big corporations. It's the average mom and pops. It's the moms. It's the dads. It's the kids in the schools. It's the small people owning businesses that are just trying to make a payroll for their employees and get ahead.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you being here and appreciate you inviting me down here to talk about these issues. And I know that the 18th District appreciates you. And if you want to learn more about Representative John Lee, you could also go to his website, representativejohnlee.com. You know, I'm wearing sunglasses because the sun was coming in and out, but maybe it's because the future is so bright with representatives like John Lee. So you could also, if you want to learn more about the House Republicans and our priorities, you can go to houserepublicans.wa.gov. And thank you for joining us for another edition of our Fix Washington podcast. This one, In the Field with John Lee.
Peter, awesome, buddy. Thanks so much.
Fix Washington with Hannah Scott, a podcast from Washington House Republicans. Go to our website, houserepublicans.wa.gov. Find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube.